One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hello, my name is Alex Mason, and I am your host today. I'm so grateful that you're joining me. And today I want to talk to you about an accounting concept of GAAP earnings versus non-GAAP earnings. So let's go ahead and go to the whiteboard really quickly to understand this concept a little bit better. So in the world of finance, in the world of investment banking, if you're looking at financial statements for a company, there's a couple of terms that you might see. And one of them is called GAAP, G-A-A-P. And what this stands for is generally accepted accounting principles. And this is the way that United States companies are required to report their earnings. And the way that GAAP works is really interesting because not only are there a lot of different types of rules, but these rules have changed over time. So if you're looking at the GAAP numbers that a company reports from year over year over year over a period of decades, you're not actually looking at the exact same numbers, which can be a little bit confusing either from the investor perspective or from the investment banker perspective. And so here's some things that you should know about GAAP. So GAAP means, so when a company uses GAAP numbers, GAAP makes a company report all different types of things like deferred revenue. We talked about this concept a little bit already. Things like amortization, which is accounting for these intangible assets of a business. How do we account for those intangible assets? And things like stock-based compensation. This is a big one, especially for growing firms. Tech companies usually have a lot of stock-based compensation. And then there's even more. Those are just a couple of examples that you and I should know about. Now, here's the thing with all of these things. These are not like super simple concepts to understand necessarily, right? They're very nuanced accounting principles that are very important in order to ultimately arrive at this number of net income. So, quote unquote, net income. And what companies will do is they'll provide an additional set of numbers adjusting for different types of expenses. So we'll call this our non-GAAP earnings. So we kind of have this tension between GAAP and non-GAAP. And the thing about it is, non-GAAP is what management believes are their true earnings of the business. And this is where things can get kind of sticky from the investment banker perspective, because on the one hand, it's nice to have a set standard that every company follows in terms of how they report their earnings, but it doesn't always reflect economic reality. In fact, it often does not. And so we rely many times on management's numbers to better understand what's going on with the business. Now, here's the thing. You have to be able to think for yourself and understand these various components within what makes up this non-GAAP, or sometimes, they'll call it adjusted, numbers. because management will play some games with this sometimes in terms of how they adjust the earnings. They can make it look like the firm is doing way better than it actually is from a profitability perspective. And it's your job as an investment banker to understand those underlying assumptions and to challenge them when necessary so that you understand what is the actual earnings of the company versus what management just wants to present to investors and to the investment banker community to make them feel really good about how well the company is doing. And so how the company treats these different types of items is really important. And it's really on a case-by-case basis. There's no hard and fast rule here. But what I wanted to introduce to you here is the main difference between GAAP and non-GAAP and the fact that the difference can be very nuanced depending on the situation. Okay? So that's what we got here today for you on Investment Banking Insights. My name is Alex Mason. I'm really grateful that you're here with me. Thank you so much for liking, following, subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.